You know what? I actually had a thought. So, The Walking Dead and Moral Oral are in different places of limbo than Synecdoche. Synecdoche is something where it's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm just like, it's a point of the series where, like, literally the entire point of what I'm doing with it, why I'm spacing it out, is to, like, connect with the themes of the film, right? And I'll be doing that after the Lion King thing. The Walking Dead and Moral Oral are very different in different places of limbo, where those two are not being delayed for thematic reasons. They're being delayed because I've made lots of efforts trying to create those reviews and not been being happy about how they've turned out, and that's why they're delayed. So Moral Oral, fucking watched the entire series again, went through all the like back behind the scenes footage, even reached out to fucking Dino Stamptopoulos, which I might do again before I like make the video. Um, no, I know you're just. It doesn't matter if you're messing with me. Like this is something that I'm open and honest. Like why would I not talk about this, right? Um, did he respond? Yeah, he did, but this was like fucking years ago. Um, he like wasn't that interested in an interview, but he seemed like maybe open to it in the future, sort of thing. So I might ask him again, but um, especially since I've asked him, I've done the whole fucking Charlie Kaufman interview thing. It's literally been that long since I've been thinking about doing a Moral Oral thing. So like way before I even publicly said that I would. Um, but yeah, so these two, Walking Dead season 3 and Moral Oral, are both things where I've done tons of work on them, but just like didn't like what I made, and so got like essentially kind of writer's block, and just like kind of wanted to take it a different direction. But thankfully, I'm glad that I sit on things for a while. And this is just a part of who I am and a part of how I make things. And, like the fucking album that I released was literally, there are songs that I wrote when I was fucking 15 years old on it. So, like, that should give you a clue as to, like, this being, like, a consistent factor in how I create things sometimes. But, like, sometimes there's things that, like, I just need to sit on and that I keep in my back pocket and I don't forget about and I always remember, but I think like, okay, I can't think of a good way to approach this right now. Maybe I will in the future. Let's keep thinking about it. For Moral Oral and The Walking Dead, I've had many thoughts in my mind about how I want to approach those series. And so the thought process for Moral Oral was, first, I want to create like an actual review of it. And then as I started making that, I was like, this sounds like shit. Like I couldn't get the right words out. And even when I did, and even when it was sincere, it was like, man, this just seems like fucking sappy. Like I didn't want to create content that was like a lot of other kind of like essay channels. There's a lot of essay channels out there, and it's like I'm friends with some of them, and some of them make great content for sure, but there's a lot of them that seem like they're just fucking talking out their ass, and that they're using like fancy graphics and just like saying things that aren't really important, but like the way that they deliver it is like implying this sense of importance to it. And just like it started to feel like that, even though what I was saying was genuine about it. And I just like, I didn't want to give off that impression. And I felt like that's what was happening. And I just eventually didn't feel like that was the right format for a Moral Oral discussion. And so now it's been long enough. And also now the show's in HD on HBO Max, so there's like legitimately HD version of the show, which is a good excuse to watch it again. So now for Moral Oral, I'm thinking like, okay, well, I can watch it again, I can create something with it, but I don't want it to be this like essay style review format. I don't want it to be like this thoughts on video that I've made for these other things. But what I can do, and I've obviously thought about this, when I delay projects, I'm still thinking about them. These things are in my back pocket. what I was thinking would be, first I was thinking like, oh, okay, I could recommend it for the podcast. I'd talk about it with Alex and Ralph on the podcast. But then I looked at the runtime and I was like, man, this would be like the longest thing I've ever recommended on the. I think it would be like longer than all the Lord of the Rings movies. It's like 3 seasons of a TV show. I don't remember if it would technically be longer than all the Lord of the Rings movies, but like I looked at the runtime and I was like, oh man, I would love to talk about it with them. That would be like the perfect format for like discussing it, and I could create a video talking about how I feel about it. But it seems like too much of a commitment. Like I wouldn't want to force them to do it. Ralph's already seen it. I think maybe the first season or maybe all of it. I don't remember. It would be weird to make them both watch it again. Like it's such a weird, like huge commitment, the amount of time for it. And then many years later, after thinking about that and realizing that wouldn't work, I thought, what if I kept the podcast format, but instead of that being the weekly podcast thing with Ralph and Alex, what if I did it the same way that I did my Death Note review, where I literally just had a conversation with somebody and talked for like a couple hours about something? I could do that perhaps with Gael, perhaps with Peach, perhaps with Scoot. I don't know. But that's where I'm at right now with that. So I have been thinking about it, and I have been altering like what I want to do with it. And right now that seems like the best approach. So, obviously I'm focused on my Lion King thing. But like, yeah, I mean, like I could keep the format of doing like a podcast style thing so I could get out my thoughts without it feeling sappy or manipulative or produced or anything like that. Obviously, I'd want to watch the show again before doing that because it's been a while. But like, yeah, like the Death Note video is something that exists, and that that could work for the moral oral thing. And that way it wouldn't be like a burden on Ralph and Alex to be like, hey, you got 2 weeks to watch fucking 3 seasons of this show, right? Which, the whole first season, like a lot of it is just leading up to other things. Like the more important things I want to talk about are in season 2 and 3, but you have to have the context of season 1 to even get to it, sort of thing, So, that's what I've been wrestling with that video. And then Walking Dead season 3, I literally took like fucking 20 pages of notes for that shit. Walking Dead season 3. I've watched through that season 3 on 2 separate occasions taking notes. Not even fucking kidding. Immediately after the season 2 thing in 2013. And then a couple years later, and I don't remember the occasion, but I think I was like, oh yeah, no, I'll do my season 3 thing. And what was stopping me from making that video was the same thing with my moral oral thing, where it was like literally just like I started creating it and I didn't like how it was turning out. It seemed weird because like season 2 and a lot of my larger YMS videos, like they're made for a reason and they're made with passion. Season 2 was made because it was telling the larger story about Frank Darabont getting fired and how he put his heart and soul into the show and made it their most successful show on the network for AMC, and they screwed him over, and how that resulted in this dramatic loss of quality over the series and snowballed and blah, 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 blah. That same story is not something that I can tell in season 3 because that was already over and dealt with. And Walking Dead is something that like has gone on for 11 seasons now or more than that. And so it feels weird to create something and call it like a YMS review. Something that's like 13 episodes of a TV show and they're all like hour-long episodes or something. I don't remember, something along those lines, but it's a huge amount of footage to go through. B, the amount of behind-the-scenes footage, and as you've seen in Walking Dead Season 2 review, there was a lot of those uploaded to AMC YouTube channel and stuff. C, there's less of a point to it because I'm not telling the story about Frank Darabont and how he got treated unfairly by the network, et cetera, et cetera. D, because there's so much after the season 3, that it's like, well, then what's really the point to stop season 3 or season 4 all the way through, right? And so these are the thoughts that I've been having with The Walking Dead, which is the other thing that I promised, other than Moral Orel, that never got made. But I'm still thinking about and still discovering how I want to approach it, but have not abandoned. I'm getting to that. And so my thought process with that was like, okay, well, I'm not sure I want to do like a YMS on season 3, but I feel obligated to do something on season 3 because I promised I would make a video on season 3. And the reason I promised that is because at the time I thought it would be a good idea, and I just didn't think of the full ramifications of that. And I like to keep my word. I like to keep my promises, right? So eventually I thought like, okay, well, Walking Dead's still going. It's like ending soon. What if I did like a YMS on the whole rest of the series? But now, especially doing my fucking Lion King review, that's the most unreasonable. Like, it doesn't matter how much I want to believe that I can do that. It's not fucking happening. I'm not doing a fucking gigantic YMS review on the whole fucking Walking Dead series. That's never gonna happen. That's literally impossible. Like, I'm sorry. I would collapse. I would die. Like, it would be an impossible feat. Like, seasons 1 and 2 were like already exhausting enough. The amount of footage to go through, et cetera, et cetera. And then other people were suggesting things like, what if you did an Adam and Pals on The Walking Dead, right? And so I was thinking, man, yeah, that would be cool. But no, because that's a huge commitment for Scoot. That's a huge commitment for Gael, right? They have other things to do. If we're like, as it is right now, we're doing like one Adam and Pals episode every like month and a half, 2 months sort of thing. And to record those, that's like, what, 2 hours, right? That would be like 2 episodes. If we continued at that pace, we'd hit the end of the series by the time we're like 80 years old or some shit, right? So that's not reasonable. That's not something that I would, that doesn't make sense. And even if we did do them more often, not only would it be like incredibly not cost effective, right? It would just be like a waste of time. It still wouldn't get out quickly, and it would take up time that I could use for other things, including editing and recording other things like what I'm doing right now, Lion King shit, or other Adam and Pals videos. So that didn't work. But now I'm thinking my most recent idea with The Walking Dead and how I want to approach it, and this is an idea that I came up with in the past like couple weeks. My most recent idea is, what if I do a solo watch along on Twitch or on YouTube or anywhere, where I have the timer of where it is in which episode or whatever, and it's just me, and I don't have to like have other people following along with me, and I'm essentially doing an Adam and Pals, but it's just me, so no pals, but just me. And then essentially all of my criticisms of the show would be recorded in some form, and perhaps it could be transformed into something in the future, edited down in a highlight sort of way. But I mean, the most important thing would be my issues with season 3, and perhaps the rest of the series if I continue to do it. Those would be things that I could share into the world, and I would feel like I've at least partially delivered on the promise that I made that I would cover season 3, right? So that's where I'm at right now. That's my most recent idea, because it's unreasonable for me to try and schedule and organize Gael and Scoot for season 3, let alone the whole fucking series. But for myself personally, if I was watching, like, I don't know, an episode every few days, a week or whatever, a couple episodes every week, if I put aside some time on like a Friday or Saturday and just like did some Walking Dead shit, just being like, "Hey, I'm going through Walking Dead," and I had the timer on the screen. People could sync it up themselves, like, um, yeah. If I did like, I could start with season 3 and see how I feel. I don't know. Maybe I'll do the rest of the series. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it'll just get unbearable. Like, I haven't seen past season. I think when I stopped watching was like a bit through season 4. Like, I haven't seen. I don't know what's happening in the show. Maybe I'll give up. But like, I feel like that's the most reasonable approach so far. So anyway, point being, from this whole ramble, this whole rant, point being, everything that I've said that I'm going to make is not just something that I'm like putting off and hoping people forget about. It's something that I'm actively thinking about and actively trying to find ways to do. And if I don't do it at this moment, there's good reasons for it that I've justified in my own head as to why it's not happening yet. That's the point that I'm making. And yes, I would like this being a highlight, Salamander, because I feel like I do get criticized for, some of the things that I've abandoned, but I actually haven't. It's just like sometimes I need a lot of time to figure out exactly how I want to do it. But yeah, obviously I've been thinking about those, and I've been trying to find ways to do them properly.
Thanks for watching. Here are the people that pay $5 and up. I am Gretty, aka Lemonade Warrior, Lord Durham, Kirbymon, Splat, Hoofy Doe, Olivia Spores, Dana, Ocean Machinery, Malav Shah, and Pit Wang. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you later.